Most diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts don't work, and here's why. Bias training doesn't work. Quotas, they cause backlash. One-off initiatives, they're like crash diets, great for appearances, useless for lasting results. A major review of unconscious bias training found no measurable long-term impact on behavior. Worse, it sometimes backfires. Employees become more defensive and resistant after being told they have bias. So what actually works? The answer isn't training people to be less biased. It's fixing the systems that let bias decide who gets hired, who gets promoted, and who gets listened to in the first place. Let's talk about the backlash problem, because apparently expecting fairness is controversial. A 2024 Pew Research study found that only 52% of workers now say focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion at work is a good thing, down from 56% in 2023. Meanwhile, the share who say it's a bad thing rose from 16% to 21%. And in case you were wondering, bias training alone doesn't work. A major review in unconscious bias training and assessment of the evidence for effectiveness found that awareness doesn't lead to action. Employees sit through training, nod, agree, and then go back to hiring, promoting, and mentoring the same kinds of people they always have in the past. Companies love to announce how many diverse hires they've made. That's great. But what happens after that? The 2023 Work in America survey found that only 68% of employees in diverse workplaces feel they have real career growth opportunities, compared to 77% in organizations without structured inclusion policies. So let's be clear. If your leadership pipeline only produces one kind of leader, the problem isn't talent, it's how you pick talent. Bias isn't just about bad people making bad choices, it's about good people operating in bad systems. If you want diversity, equity, and inclusion to succeed, you need structured solutions, not awareness campaigns. Make hiring, pay, and promotions transparent and equitable. Remove barriers that prevent marginalized employees from getting in and moving up. Don't just hire diverse talent, make sure they thrive, not just survive. Leadership should look like the workforce, not a select club. Now, this isn't about feelings, it's about creating business structures that make bias irrelevant. If you're in a leadership position, let's talk about you for a second, because fixing systems is step one. Step two, you have to own your own biases. Let's face it, if you're handed a policy book on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or forced to sit through mandatory training, your first reaction isn't to change, it's to resist. That's human nature. The American way is to defy. So how do you actually change? You start with self-intention. Read, talk to people with different experiences. Check yourself when you default to the familiar. Understand that bias isn't about being a bad person, it's about unexamined habits, and staying stuck in those habits will catch up with you eventually. Now let's talk about the elephant in the boardroom, political posturing. If your approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion shifts because of whatever politicians are screaming about this week, you have a leadership problem. The US government is not the authority on running a successful business. If it were, we wouldn't have trillion-dollar deficits and government shutdowns every year. Your job is to hire the best, build the strongest teams, and create an environment where people do their best work. If political noise makes you hesitate on that, ask yourself, why are you letting people who don't even run businesses tell you how to run yours? So CEOs, own it, fund it, enforce it. If you're serious about building a competitive, modern business, stop fixing people, fix the systems, and start fixing yourself. If you like this video, learned something, or maybe even got a little excited, click subscribe or share it with someone who might need it. It really helps me to get the message out there and make work suck less for everybody. And frankly, we both know you need more of that.